Hi, I'm Finn. This video is going to be about Kantian ethics and the Clone Wars. Despite it being allergy season and me looking like a walking bug bite these days, um, occasional brain fog, you might want to call that brain buffering, is due to allergies. Um, I'm going to try and get through this idea. I think it's a really interesting one, and I think it could really, I don't know, maybe in later videos I could expand upon it. And it could be a really interesting idea, so I feel like sharing it. Um, Frankly, it was an idea that hit me harder than Order 66 hit the Jedi. Might be too soon, but I think it's definitely time to at least express this idea and talk about it. So Immanuel Kant was actually like a really interesting philosopher. He still is. This guy really thought about reason a lot. So free will and reason for this dude was super important. Now I'm going to try my best to explain this sort of off the top of my head. That being said, I've written a description as well down below that should really help clarify some things if there's some gaps in my explanation. For Immanuel Kant, this is all sort of summed up in the categorical imperative. Kant's categorical imperative, like, I guess the best way to sort of explain that is that he postulates that people should start acting as if every single other person had to act the same way they do. And so reasoning from that, it's like if I, steal something or I deny someone's agency, if I lie to someone, he's big about lying. So let's just go with lying. Let's say I lie to someone. If everyone lied to each other, where would the world be off? Right? I mean, because if you lie to one person, that's fine. I think the world would be, maybe not great, but it would be about where it is. It's not terrible. But if everyone lied every single opportunity they had to speak to another human, the world would be really, really difficult to live. And it's like you wouldn't be able to function very well. This is where Kant is actually really smart. So he ends up having three ways of treating people. He sort of has like these ideas of like, okay, you can treat people as ends in themselves. So you're essentially treating people like you want to have a conversation with these people because they are people. You're interested in these people for their own sake. That sort of idea. Then there's a second one, and this is like the idea of like merely as a means. So you're treating someone as like just important for the goal that they can serve for you. They're like a tool or an implement that you can use to achieve whatever goal that you want, whatever means and that you want, that person is being used to achieve that for you. The third thing that Kant has an idea about is like treating people, and this is a mouthful, as a means but also as an end. So this is sort of the blended approach of the first two, and this is Kant's favorite. So he likes this method because when you treat people as a means but also as an end, you're respecting human needs and individual free will and agency. So the tie-in here is in the Clone Wars. So in the second movie, the third movie, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and now in the Bad Batch, you see a whole bunch of different examples where clones are sort of overridden with this chip in their head called the inhibitor chip, right? This was part of like a master plan set up by Emperor Palpatine, who's later Emperor Palpatine, but Sheev Palpatine, the Chancellor, Supreme Chancellor in the Star Wars series before, like Episode 4 in Star Wars. So the Galactic Civil War is brought on by this guy, and he essentially commissions a whole clone army. So the Grand Army of the Republic, clones, were all commissioned by this dude, right? So this is fiction, or at least a fictional case of a dude who is sort of enacting schemes and stuff using people. Okay, because these are clones of a person. So these people have free will, but it's overridden physically using like science fiction-y technology stuff. It's pretty interesting, and it's I don't know if it's super relevant, but it's interesting just watching the Bad Batch or watching any of these things, Star Wars or Clone Wars, because you can sort of see like it's an interesting tie-in. It's like a free will tie-in to Immanuel Kant. And I think what's interesting here is it doesn't necessarily prove that the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the CIS, is necessarily morally correct. What it does prove, however, is that Sheev Palpatine and the Sith are extremely anti-Kantian, which shouldn't be a surprise because these people are pretty evil. They rarely ever use anyone as anything but a means. Everyone's a means to an end by these. like Sith Lords and that sort of thing. And a lot of the villains in Star Wars are portrayed this way. Now, the CIS, do they do this sometimes? Sure, maybe. But they also use droids. They don't override people's free will and agency. And that's what I think is interesting. And that's some of what I got out of these comments that I've been seeing on my channel. So, lastly, I just want to give a takeaway and a message, right? So, this is Kant's like second formulation. And I've already sort of hinted at this, but just so if you've watched this far, you do get something out of the video, and it's more than just, oh, here's an idea. So Kant essentially says that we should try and act and strive to treat humanity, usually meaning like ourselves and everyone else that you ever have conversation with, as ends in themselves, and you should never merely use someone as an end or a means to an end. So stop trying to use people for your own ends merely. Try and appreciate conversation, appreciate other people's agency and their free will. And I think everyone's going to benefit that way, because if everyone does that, people won't be trying to, I don't know, be extremely rude to waiters would be a good example, or try and misuse people's agency, because people are more important than some people give them credit for. Even the dumbest, or you might think the least useful members of society have free will and agency, and they have moral weight. And that's what Kant's idea is. And I think, if anything, a fictional example like the Clone Wars and Star Wars can sort of bring us that realization. So I think props to Star Wars, props to George Lucas, Dave Filoni, everybody who's involved in this, because I think this is sort of a moral underpinning of The Bad Batch and other shows like that. So thanks so much for watching. And if you like this, hey, I'd like to just start a dialogue or something like that. And if you disagree and you want to talk about the Confederacy of Independent Systems, CIS, something like that, post in the comments below. That'd be really cool to talk about. And I'd like to engage in the future. If you liked it, share it. Maybe even follow the channel. That'd be cool. Subscribe. And have a fantastic day. Thank you.